Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the Gazette magazine for 13 September 2021, your daily guide to UPSC current affairs. Now, the hot selling articles for today are 1. CRISPR technology being used to ensure that mosquitoes' growth be curtailed. So we are curtailing diseases. A very important article, Science and Technology. The second one is the tussle between FSSAI, food body for the government, versus the food industry, an important update on that same. And the third one is National Institutional Ranking Framework released by the Ministry of Education. This day in history we have dedicated to Jatendra Nath Das. And the featured news. Featured news is on a separate video. The video that you're watching is a separate video. So we have two videos on the Gazette magazine today. Now, the featured news is on the periodic labor force survey report. This is the third time the government has released this report, and this is an important report. Why? Because this report talks about the employment status and unemployment status in the country, in both the urban and rural areas. Now, this is such an important report because it talks about the statistics about the increase in employment in the country. Yes, employment has increased, and this is what the data suggests. But a subjective analysis talks about what are the reasons behind we are seeing increase in female participation, the women participation in labor force. What is the reason we are seeing increase in agricultural sector participation, right? So important analysis is very much required when we talk about the periodic labor force survey report for the year 2020. And this is what we have done in the featured discussion. Do watch this discussion, becomes very important from mains perspective. Image of the day is on Chandni Chowk, Delhi. The terms and concepts that we discussed today are Acharya Vinoba Bhave. The second one is Protector of Immigrants. The third one, Atal Tinkering Labs Space Challenge. And the fourth, Battle of Sargarahi. If you have watched the movie, well and good. If you have not, we'll discuss very quickly. Editorials of the day. The three editorials that we discussed today are, first one, the Brics, which has now been 15 years for its constitution, the important updates about Brics Summit. And the second one is on the COVID crisis, especially relating to the health sector, the labor and care in the hospitals. The third one is on the edible oil mission. A lot has been discussed in the newspapers, and we have also covered this in the snapshot section. Now we will quickly understand a new perspective to the mission. Case study of the day is from Mumbai, where 3 ladies have made a revolution in the plastic waste management system. Let's start the discussion. We have dedicated this day in history to Jatendra Nath Das because it was on 13 September 1929 that he passed away. He passed away because he was in a hunger strike, and it was his 63rd day of hunger strike. He was in hunger strike in the Lahore jail. He was in the jail because he was caught in a conspiracy, Lahore conspiracy. And because the Indian prisoners were not being given a good treatment in the jail, he started a hunger strike. The hunger strike was that the Indian prisoners be given equal treatment as compared to the European prisoners. So he was demanding Indian political prisoners' rights, social rights inside the jail. He demanded for better food. He demanded for newspapers. So these were his demands, and he passed away on the 63rd day of his strike. Snapshot 1 is on the CRISPR technology, which is now being used to curtail the growth of mosquitoes of a particular kind. If this is done, then we will ensure that the diseases which are spread through mosquitoes, they be curtailed. So it becomes very relevant and important. So quickly understand what is this technology about. Now CRISPR technology ensures that the genes are edited. The genetic information that is there in our bodies, that information is edited through CRISPR technology. The technique called as Precision Guided Sterile Insect Technique, PGSIT. This has been helped by the CRISPR technology. So what has it done? What it has done is that it has played with the genes of mosquitoes. How? Now, they have produced a particular cell of mosquito. This cell is going to later breed into a mosquito itself. So now, when this gets released in the environment, suppose this is a male. This is a male mosquito. Later, it will mate with a female mosquito. After it mates with the female mosquito, the offspring will not be able to breed at all. The offspring, the children of these mosquitoes will be sterile. So there is no progeny, there is no succession of mosquitoes. This is one. Also, the female mosquito will be rendered flightless. Female mosquito which spreads the particular disease will be rendered flightless. So you can see very well that using this kind of genetically engineered mosquito cell is rendering the next generations sterile and making the female mosquito flightless. right? So this is going to help us in many ways. For example, dengue, chikungunya, Zika virus, all of them are spread through this vector mosquito, and this is how this technology is going to limit the spread of these diseases. Therefore, this is called as a self-limiting biology, right? The organism itself is going to curtail its own growth. The second snapshot is on the food safety label on the front side of the packaged food. Now, as an example, I would like to show you what we are talking of. Now we see these kind of labels on the back side of the packaged food that we purchase, correct? And this talks about the amount of fat contained, the amount of sugar it contains, the amount of trans fat it has contained, right? So all the nutrition value is written on the back side. Now FSSAI has said that it wants to put all the labeling on the front side. This is one. Now the second thing it says that they want to ensure that the ratings, there be ratings given to food product. Is it good for the user or not? Is it good for people who want to eat it or not? So there will be different star ratings, right? Just like electronic white goods are given star ratings on energy efficiency, these also will be given the ratings depending on whether it is good to be eaten or not. So for example, yellow star, then we have red and green light. So on the basis of traffic signals, some rating can be derived here as well. Now naturally the food industry has opposed this. Why? Because India is an emerging market for the food industry, processed food industry, and it is around $44 billion. And if we start to make aware the people of the harms of the processed food, how will they be able to purchase it? So this will impact the market. Now, the world over, this technology, this new innovation has been used. It has been used in countries like Brazil, countries like Mexico. However, now India is facing some rebellion. Why? Because India also has a growing industry for food sector, right? Food processing sector. To the level, yesterday itself we discussed that the potato chips, they are far more cheaper in the rural areas as compared to the fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. So this is because of marketing of the food industry. Now we have seen world over that if we use this kind of mechanism, front page and this kind of awareness generation, it will definitely lead to decrease in the sale. But the better impact of it will be that it will lead to lesser non-communicable diseases, lesser lifestyle diseases like obesity. India is said to be the third biggest consumer of processed food, and we can change this. The idea is not to go against the food industry. The idea is to go against those kind of food which are not good to eat for humans, right? And what is the take of the health industry, the food industry? What they say is that the consumers are self-aware. They will enlighten themselves. Let us do our jobs by putting the products the way they are. All we got to do is that ensure placing of these marks itself, and they will make an informed discussion by themselves, right? So we should not be discouraging the people from purchasing these kind of entities. Now this is where an ethical question also arises. Now this is something, if we have gone through the video, if we have read the news, then it is fine, we'll be aware enough. But these are the kind of debates that happen in the lobby groups. The third snapshot is on the National Institutional Ranking Framework, which has been released by the Ministry of Education for the year 2021. It ranks on 11 different levels, 11 different categories for educational institution, the higher educational institution. So one is the overall ranking for all the institutions inclusive, and then we have university, engineering, management, pharmacy, dental, architecture, law, medical, and college. These are 10 of them. And this year itself, another ranking was added, that was research-based institutions. So total 11 categories in which ranking is done, and they are done on 5 parameters. The first is teaching learning resources, and then we have research and professional practice, graduation outcome, outreach, and perception. So on 5 parameters, organizations are ranked in university sector, in engineering sector, law, and so on and so forth. So this time, the overall ranking, the best college has been given to IIT Madras. Along with that, the research category, which was added just this year, IISc, Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, has stood at the first position. Also, in the college category, Miranda House, Delhi, the female college, girls only college, it has stood the first category. Image of the day is from Chandni Chowk. Chandni Chowk has been given a whole new look. It has been upgraded, and the main idea is to ensure that the place receives more tourism, it is more user-friendly, more clean. This is a legacy of last 400 years that Chandni Chowk has developed right now. So what they have done is remove the cables, they have made the whole area clean, they have ensured that there is a good walkway for people to walk through, there is no traffic, so no four-wheeler traffic along the whole area. Now this is, Chandni Chowk is very close to the historic UNESCO World Heritage Site, that is Red Fort. The first term for today is on Acharya Vinoba Bhave. Why? Because it was his birthday. 11 September was his birthday. 1895 is the year when he was born. Now, he was a freedom fighter, he was a social reformer, he was a Gandhian. And he participated in important movement like the Bhudan movement. He also participated in the individual satyagraha that was done in the 1940s against the British. So, individual satyagraha with the purpose that the whole country should not rise against the British while it is facing the World War II. So, he was the first person to get into individual satyagraha. Not only that, he later was given the Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian honor in the country. He was also the first recipient of Raman Magsaysay Award in the category of community leadership. So, Acharya Vinoba Bhave. The second term in news is protector of immigrants. Now, many of us travel abroad, and some of us do travel abroad to look for jobs. And there are quite a few of us who travel abroad who have less educational qualifications. They might as well be illiterate. So many people, many Indians do travel to countries in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, in Canada, USA, and they are illiterate. Their passports have different markings. So these markings are the ones which help them through the Protector of Immigrant institution. This institution, they have got some responsibilities for these people who are not able to protect their own rights. What they do is they mark these kind of passports, these kind of people, and whenever they apply for visa, whenever they want to travel abroad, there is a higher degree of scrutiny to understand what is the need for going abroad. How will they be under a social security mechanism? Who is the agent through which they're going abroad? So this is how Protector of Immigrants tries to help those people in specific. Protector of Immigrant will also protect the other people, educated people, those who have not gone specifically for job purposes. They might have as well gone for education or leisure. So Protector of Immigrant will also help in case of contingent demands. For example, if people have to be brought back to the country, so therefore institutions like Bureau of Immigration will be a part of it. Institutions like the Passport Office, Indian Missions Abroad will be a part of it. And that is how this meeting was held and concluded. The third term in news is Atal Tinkering Labs Space Challenge 2021. Now, I recently saw in a newspaper that in a civilian space mission, some people were selected, civilians were selected, and none of them seemed like Indian. My point here is that the government is trying to promote the Atal Tinkering Labs. What is tinkering? Tinkering means to play around, to fiddle with, reverse engineer. Children try to play with their gadgets and equipments. So these Atal Tinkering Labs have been instituted at the school level. And at school level, children will be encouraged to develop the scientific temperament, to be able to become curious and to try to reverse engineer. So they are given various products. For example, they will be given computers of various dimensions. They will be given 3D printers. So they will be able to play with these kind of gadgets. Now, similarly, a space challenge also has been given to the small children. What will it do? It will generate a curiosity, a certain degree of curiosity in those small school children from the age of, from the class 6 to 12. And how will this help the country? This will help in developing the future astronauts for the country? Yes, they will. But for now, what is it going to help? First of all, they will help them learn. And the second one is, possibly, if the government finds something really innovative, they can also use them in the space technology. So, Atal Tinkering Lab Space Challenge 2021. The fourth term in news is the Battle of Sargarahi. This battle was fought in Afghanistan, Britishers versus the local tribes. So, the Britishers were not there. It was the Indian soldiers who were manning this post, and there were 21 Indian soldiers posted on that day. Ideally, there were 40 to be posted, but that day, fateful day, it was just 20. And they fought against 8,000, around 8,000 tribals, Afghan tribals. And this battle was considered as one of the finest last stands. Last stand is the last resort, whatever is used against in the battle forces. So this is considered as one of the finest stands ever in the world of the history of the world. Now, we have also, if somebody have seen the movie Kesari, so this is what the movie has also rightly depicted. Now, what was this battle about? This was a post. Sargarahi was a post. It was a post between two major British forts, and this post would be used to convey information, because during those times we did not have walkie-talkies, there was no wireless and there was no satellite phone. So they would be using heliographic communication system. So what was this communication system? With the help of sun rays, they would be able to direct the Morse codes. So sun rays would be able to reflect the light from one post, from this post. So when this place has to pass a message, it would not pass directly, it would pass through this post. And that is why conquering this post by the tribals was very important. So what the local Afghan did was they attacked this post, and before attacking, they also ensured that they cut the important supply places Of course, the Britishers lost. Of course, the people, the Indian people who were standing at Sargarahi, they lost. But this was an act of valor, which is in the presence of enemy. They were given the Indian Order of Merit. And this Order of Merit is equivalent to Victoria Cross. Victoria Cross is the highest honor that is given to a soldier when they are in front of the enemy. Now, this is very much comparable to the Paramveer Chakra, right? If you have seen another movie, the one on Vikram Batra. So, we are talking of those kind of honors, Victoria Cross, Paramveer Chakra, and Indian Order of Merit. So, this was first time given out of going away from the tradition. It was given to the posthumous, so to the people who sacrificed their lives. These were 21 in number. The first editorial talks about the 15 years of development of Brics and what are its internal working mechanisms. The editorial begins by saying that Brics Summit, it has been 15 years since the first time it was organized, and there have been 13 summits. This time it was India which was the host of the summit. It was held virtually, and the Prime Minister of India focused on, in his speech, about the next 15 years of Brics. So he spoke about the future of Brics here. Similarly, the Premier of South Africa, he spoke on equal access to vaccines, diagnostics and therapeutics, right? So South Africa has been struggling with gaining vaccine access. So it has been pleading the BRICS countries also to pass on the vaccine to itself. Similarly, China spoke of true multilateralism. So China, like a country, hints at different issues. China hinted at the Quad formation. This could be one very, very good example, glimmering example. Now, the present context of Afghanistan, China has been very much a participant. And this is where the editorial says that China is playing around the South Asia region. Now, important countries in BRICS economy which have to deal with Afghanistan are Russia, India, and China. So these are the countries which might be very much affected, and Brazil and South Africa, they are dealing with their own issues. They are also located far off, but these countries have to take a lead role. This is what the editorial says. There has to be a priority in fighting terrorism, especially in context of Afghanistan. Relating to UN expansion, the editorial says that the countries, now China and Russia, have to maintain the same stand that Brazil and India and South Africa do deserve a position in the United Nations Security Council, expanded council, right? Now, the editorial says that government meetings are held, and this BRICS meeting has been held. Now, BRICS meeting usually is criticized on its inefficiencies, less functioning, less effective mechanism to enable people, right? And therefore, it says government meetings are held, and government officers are happy in meeting itself. Why? Because meeting does give some inputs and outputs, but the real output is one when there is an action for people welfare, right? So this is how it concludes. Now, I would like to summate this editorial by bringing to fore what we discussed yesterday. We discussed 4 C's in context of America yesterday. 4 C's are COVID, China, then counterterrorism, and the 4th one is climate change. So these are the 4 crises that BRICS also has to deal with. BRICS also has to deal with the rise of China, the unsymmetrical rise of China inside BRICS itself. So do remember these 4 C's. These are something that you can answer when you deal with the international issues. The second editorial talks about each role player in the hospital industry during COVID times. The editorial begins by saying that hospital care is not just about medicine. It is not just about medical expertise. It is also about bureaucratic structure, dealing with the whole structure and mechanism in which the treatment has to be done. And it is quite bureaucratic in nature. They also have to deal with an important ethics dimension, that is the medical ethics, right? So what is the time when the hospital has to favor the patient? Do they have to favor an elderly person while treatment or a young person? So they have to deal with 3 expertise: medical expertise, bureaucratic expertise, and ethics expertise. And who is credited usually? It is the doctor who is credited. However, it is not only the doctor who is a participant here. There are other people. There are nurses, there are orderlies, there are chemists, lab assistants, technicians, sweepers, clerks. There's so many other people who are participating in the whole business, and they have completely been sidelined. They have been undervalued. The amount of work that they do, the amount of salary that they receive, that is all questionable. And therefore, the whole COVID structure also went on, it also fell onto the people also. So this is where it says that social media, they were good Samaritans who participated in social media activities. So they amplified the need for oxygen, the need for ventilators, the need for hospital beds, the need for medicines, right? So there were a lot of people who helped. Right, so this is where it says that they also should be given equal focus in society, right? So allied workers in the hospital business and good Samaritans, right? So in the hospital sector, there is a huge undervalue of the infrastructure. Now, infrastructure helps in many ways. It helps in observation of the patient. It helps in bettering the infrastructure. So, example, ICU infrastructure, it has to be made better. The time in which the people have to be helped, that has to be made better. Resource availability, food, drip, transfer from one ward to another. During the second wave of COVID, we very well saw how people had to be outside the hospital, lodging outside the hospital for a few days, and after that they would get entry, and they would not be even able to understand where their relative was taken to, right? So this is how the whole business, the whole hospital infrastructure crumbled. So we can pinpoint at various pain point places, and we can also improve those particular sectors. So we are talking of Good Samaritans, we are talking of the hospital infrastructure, we are talking of the human resources of the hospital, right? And why are we leaving apart the vaccinators, the ASHA workers, right? The testing centers and the contact tracers. So they are also a part of this. We have seen how Good Samaritans participated by making the autos as ambulance, right? By installing langars at local places. So there are a lot of people who have played a beautiful role during COVID times. And this is where the editorial says that a lot of deaths are preventable, and they could be preventable. And there are patient deaths, and there are deaths of the COVID care workers as well, which could be prevented. The third editorial talks about the pros and cons of the much spoken of edible oil mission. The editorial begins by saying that MSP for the various crops have been declared by the government, in which we have seen that the wheat increase, the MSP in the prices of wheat has increased only 2%, and the prices in certain oil seeds, mustard rapeseed, have increased as much as 8%. Is it an indicator that the government is trying to promote the diversification of crops into the oil seeds? In this context, the editorial starts by saying that India started its national edible oil mission, in which the main idea was to promote the cultivation of oil palm in the country, right? And in context of the edible oil import, which constitutes 60% of the oil consumption, the food sector oil consumption, 60% is imported. Can you imagine? And the import is so much that it is amounting to $11 billion, 88,000 crores of import of oil, the food grade oil. And this edible oil is not just being imported, there is a huge amount of tax on it. And not only tax, there has been a huge amount of inflation as well, 32% of inflation year on year on edible oil. And that is why the government says we will do something better. We will start the National Edible Oil Mission for the promotion of the indigenous variety of oil palm being cultivated in the country, right? So what they have done is they have selected some certain area. So northeastern area, the places in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, these places will be cleared of the conventional vegetation and oil palm will be cultivated here. Why oil palm in specific? Oil palm in specific because oil palm yields greater productivity than other crops, than other oil seeds. So that is why oil palm. Now, certain issues with oil palm. There's been a lot of revolution and rebel against the government on this. What are the issues? Oil palm will take in a lot of water. This is a water guzzling crop. This is one. Oil palm spoils the biodiversity of the place. This has happened in Malaysia, where oil palm, it was not naturally growing there. It was made to grow, and the whole biodiversity, the habitat of the jungles were cleared, and the whole habitat of the residents, that means the animals, it also got cleared. So this is another issue. The other requirements are huge amount of humidity and rainfall every month, and also a certain degree of temperature, so 20 to 33 degree of temperature. So these are very particular requirements of oil palm. Not only that, it needs a lot of intensive cultivation. So what is required is increased vermiculture, irrigation, farm mechanization. Then we need to have good planting material, better irrigation management, fertilizers. So there is a lot of input which has to be put in for growth of oil palm in the country, right? And this is where the people are saying that probably this may not be the best idea. Also, the growing season is not just within a year. It takes more than a year for one season, one cycle of crop to grow. And that is why it is very much possible that this is a risky affair. That is why a lot of people are opposing this. Now, the government has said that it will have the fresh fruit bunches. This will be not under MSP. This will be a different pricing for the oil palm in the country. Now, presently we have high import duty. The government has also reduced some import duty for importing these oils right now, but it is still as much as 30%, 40%. So these are the kind of figures we are talking, the duty on import of the oils. And therefore, if we have to talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we'll have to balance both of this. The amount of duty that we have for the import, the kind of import that we are having, and our indigenous production as well. Case study of the day is about a simple inspiration a person can receive from WhatsApp messages also. So one female in Mumbai, she received a message on WhatsApp saying, that the corner of the milk plastic bag should not be cut. Otherwise, it becomes a redundant waste, it cannot be processed, and it becomes a part of the pollution in the environment, right? What did they do through it? Now they started collecting the plastic bags themselves. These, the milk plastic bags at their own homes. They collected, these 3 female, they started to collect these plastic bags and clean them and keep them at their homes. And later they sent it for processing. Now, this revolution that they started at their own homes, it translated later. They encouraged other people to do the same, and other people, they started cleaning their bags, these plastic bags of milk, and then this all was collected after a month or 2 from these people itself, from all the people. And this has generated not only less plastic pollution, it has also ensured that this whole system generates employment for the economy. Not only that, they have helped in preservation, in the recycling of 7.5 lakh plastic milk bags. So this is the kind of inspiration one can draw from a small message as well. If you like our initiative, if you like our effort, do share some love on us through likes, comments and shares. If you subscribe to the channel, you will receive timely updates. Thanks for watching.